And welcome into another edition of the Hustle Show podcast here for Hustle Short on Wednesday, December 6th. I'm Mark Zinno, joined by Adam Trigger as we get you through week 14 in the NFL. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I know college football is coming to an end, Trig, but don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Week 14 in the NFL. Great to be with you as always, Trig. How's the week been treating you so far?
So far, so good, Mark. 2-0 in college basketball last night, 1-0 on Monday. So it's a perfect 3-0 start to the week. And just looking to try to keep it going. That's been the challenge is getting 3 wins in a row hasn't been that difficult, but it's been, making it 4, 5, 6 in a row, getting on a little bit of a run. So I'd love to close December out on a nice run, and I hope to keep it going.
Well, let's get into the NFL here as we look at the Week 14 slate. And I got to tell you, what stood out to me, Trig, and I can remember a time where I would never see totals this low, the way the passing in the NFL has gone on. But, there are certain teams with team totals higher than game totals this week. You have 2 totals sitting below 31 for the Steelers and Patriots on Thursday night, the Jaguars and Browns coming up on Sunday. You have the Falcons and Texans at low. The Falcons and Buccaneers, rather, is a low total under 40. Houston Texans, New York Jets at 32. I mean, the amount of totals that are sitting below 40 is just somewhat staggering at this point. And I guess the real question here is, Trig, how does that low total affect your ability to handicap the game? Because when you're seeing let's just take Thursday night, you're seeing a 6-point spread on a total of 30.5. I mean, literally 2 scores get you to halfway to the total. So it's difficult to lay a number when the total is so low.
No, it really is, Mark. It makes it really challenging to take unders, of course, because it's football, right? Like even bad teams, bad offenses. I mean, you have a tip ball, you have an interception return for a touchdown, a fumble, 7 points. Like it's 1 or 2 things on a total that low, because it's like let's just take Thursday night's game for example. I mean, neither of these teams are, well, the Patriots made a good case for being incompetent last week, but like they're probably going to move the ball, score some, and then it's like, so yeah, I mean, how do you justify playing under 30 when like 1 pick six or a kick return all of a sudden kind of puts you up against it? Makes it very difficult in terms of handicapping totals. Like I did a couple shows on Monday where I talked about the over in the Bengals Jaguars game being the only way I could play it. And that's probably the way I would approach totals betting at this point. It feels like the numbers collectively have moved so far to toward unders, because and I think it's specifically because of all the primetime games going under that it's pulled the entire market down. So there are some probably good spots out there to take overs, maybe not in the games that are the like the obvious ones, but where you're just getting a lower number based on the entire market being dragged down. And then as far as handicapping, Mark, I mean, it lends itself to wanting to take points in a lot of situations because the points are at a bigger premium. And then you talk about teasers. We always talk about, okay, well, you want to find games with low totals. Well, a lot of these teasers have been good plays because every game has a low total, or games are just staying lower in general. So I guess that's just my general thoughts on the totals being low and how I would potentially approach, trying to make sense of it.
Yeah, and listen, a lot of the reasons for the low totals, obviously, is the poor quarterback play across the league, and looks like half the league right now is probably on a backup or a replacement level starter, and even at that, half of these guys probably shouldn't be NFL quarterbacks regardless, and that's unfortunately what's happened in the league this year. There's just really bad quarterback play, and it certainly has affected the numbers. One game I'll talk about here is where they don't have bad quarterback play. The Rams and the Ravens are going to link up here in Baltimore. And the Rams have been a little bit of a perplexing team for me over the last couple of weeks, Trig. They're a 1.5-point favorite against Arizona, and they go out and blow them out 2 weeks ago. And I thought it was a massive overreaction to them being a 4.5-point favorite over the Browns last week. And for 3 quarters, I looked like a genius because the Browns hung with them every step of the way, even with Joe Flacco at quarterback. And then it kind of all fell apart in the fourth quarter. The Rams up covering this number. Now the Rams come back to be a 7.5-point dog on the road in Baltimore. And I hate to sound chalky here, but I think the Ravens are coming off a bye, no less. The most prepared team in the league, one of the most well-coached teams in the league, are probably the right side here, even with a bad number like 7.5. I mean, this is a prime teaser option for this week, as you just talked about, getting the Ravens down to 1.5. But, this is a Ravens team now that has found themselves, still in the thick of things in their own division with the Steelers and the Browns right on their heels. And the ability, and on the flip side, the ability to get the number 1 overall seed, which is something that they're still fighting for. So I like the spot here for the Ravens. I know it's chalky and it's a big number to lay, but for my money, when I look at the Ravens and the way that they play, this is a bad matchup here for the Rams. Rams are bad away from home. This is not a team that scores a lot of points on the road. This is a Ravens defense that gets after the quarterback a lot, and that could be problematic for Matt Stafford here. And I think the Ravens defense probably creates some turnovers here more than expected. If you wanted to look at a Matt Stafford to throw in an interception prop, I think that's a live pick against this Ravens defense this week. So it looks like the Ravens are going to end up making my card this week at -7.5.
Yeah, Mark, the Rams are a fraud team, in my opinion, that keep falling into good spots. Like that's just what it is. They're a fraudulent team that's going to get whacked at some point, maybe this week by the Ravens, but they keep falling into favorable situations up against, like you said, the Cardinals. Yeah, okay, they were the line said that the Cardinals had a good chance there, but it's still the Cardinals. And then last week with the Browns, I was on them too, Mark. That was one of my only loss on Sunday. I had a 2-1 NFL day. My only loss was the Browns, and again, it looked like we had the right side for 3 quarters. And but at the end of the day, it was still a brand new quarterback, and the Browns made a couple of mistakes, and tip the cap to the Rams for cashing in on opportunities. But I would agree with you. They're just a fraud team, and they're going to get exposed at some point. And what better spot for them to get exposed by the Ravens, who might very well be the best team in the AFC?
Yeah, and again, Ravens coming off a bye is another point here worth noting. And I think in general, the Ravens they're a flat out better team. And I think you're right with the Rams being a little bit exposed as a fraud here, and just the right spot for them to take advantage of it. All right, give me a game that you're looking at here in Week 14.
Yeah, so let's go back to the backup quarterback conversation. And I wanted to just expound upon that for a second, because when you look at your odds board, I mean, it is dudes in red, like being written in, guys TBA. Like, I mean, there's 3 teams that don't know who their quarterback's going to be yet this week, or at least are not, haven't really fully decided. Others where it's backup versus backup. And so the game I want to focus on is backup versus backup. It's the Colts and the Bengals. But one of these backups, Mark, Gardner Minshew, I think he's the best backup quarterback in the league. I think the Colts actually might be better with Minshew under center. Like, okay, so I just want to rewind to the beginning of the year. This year, I did not think the Colts were going to have this good of a season. I did think someone in this division would rattle off wins against the other teams in this division and throw themselves in the mix. But the Colts might very well be better since Richardson went down and Minshew, got under center, because what Gardner Minshew does that a lot of these other backups don't do is he really is just truly a professional quarterback. He belongs in the NFL. He might not belong in the NFL from the standpoint of being a guy that you want to build your franchise around. But man, I bet you go pull the league right now, Mark. I bet every team wishes they had Minshew behind, whoever their number 1 quarterback is. And the Colts, continue to find ways to win games. Listen, Minshew makes mistakes. He throws interceptions, but for the most part, he puts this team in position to win, and they've managed to win games. And I wouldn't be surprised if they won a 5th straight here. So they've got 4 straight wins, all sorts of momentum. And last week, they were able to do it in spite of just running the ball for 55 yards in the entire game. That shouldn't happen this week. They should be able to run the ball on the Bengals. The Bengals' run defense has not been good. And, I think the Colts have no issue moving the ball here. So, the other side, we have another backup, Jake Browning, one that really struggled in his first 2 appearances. But you know what? Let's give Browning a pass. Like, you are never going to get thrown in against the Ravens and have a good game. And then I'm willing to give him a little bit of a pass for the Steelers game. That's another good defense, but he played a great game last week, beat the Jaguars, and now comes in what we'll call this the comeback to earth spot, Mark. Like this happens with backup quarterbacks where they build to a good start. They have their really good start, and suddenly they're expected to have another one. Okay. And that's what I'm willing to bet against here is Browning having another good start. We kind of saw it with Dorian Thompson-Robinson, a couple weeks ago, got a win against the Steelers, comes back and loses to the Broncos. It happens more often than I would say. It happens quite frequently, and I could see it happening here. The Colts, this is, I mean, their defense isn't great, but I think it's good enough. And really, what this comes down to more, it's less what the Colts do defensively and more, can Browning replicate his performance against the Jaguars now that he's got some expectations behind him? Because I would rate the Jaguars and the Colts from a defensive perspective right around even. So even though this isn't going to be the Ravens or the Steelers, the Colts aren't just totally incapable. And now that Browning's got some expectations, can he perform? And I think in this matchup, I lean more toward the sort of tried and true here. The Colts, the Colts, we've known what they are with Minshew under center for weeks, and it's a good football team. I'd rather take the Colts at a pick here to win a fifth straight game with all the momentum that they have, as opposed to the Bengals to trust Browning to come out and play well for a second straight time. This is a Bengals defense that has been getting beat for weeks now, and I just think the Colts are the overall better team. And if the Colts get a little bit from their run game this week, which they should, I think they're going to win, a fifth straight game. So I like the Colts -1 or pick whatever it may be at right now. I think the Colts are the right side.
Yeah, literally the most surprising thing about this NFL season is the 7-5 Indianapolis Colts, to say the least. And I swore off the Colts after like week 5 because in the first 4 weeks I played a Colts game either on them or against them and got all 4 of them wrong. And I said, I'm done with this team. I can't figure them out. I'm not going to waste my time and energy. And I've never looked. My life's been better for it. But yeah, certainly like the spot there, fading the backup who had a big game against a really bad pass defense, by the way. And the Colts defense, like you mentioned, a little bit plus. The Jags pass defense is god awful. So they got there on Monday night. All right, make sure you guys hit that like button and that subscribe button as well right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Go get all of Adam's plays, wt.buzz/AT. I'm over at sportsmemo.sm.buzz/MZ. You can get all of our plays there. Full edition of the Hustle Show pod coming up tomorrow night. And don't forget, right there, you see it, $5 customer appreciation play today, all day long here on WagerTalk. Any of your handicappers, you'll get a $5 daily play package. One play that will be up until midnight tonight for you guys to go get. So go to wagertalk.com, sportsmemo.com as well to get your $5 customer appreciation play available tonight until midnight. Again, full edition of the Hustle Show tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here. So for Adam Trigger, I'm Mark Zinno. Appreciate you guys watching and listening. As always, good luck with your bets tonight. Cash some tickets. We'll talk to you tomorrow.